just excuse inexcusable behavior. Well, you know Bill, he's just a hothead. Oh, well, everyone is entitled to their own opinion. Your family's been here a long time, so... And I found that if a pastor tries to correct such behavior, he or she is seen as the problem. If we are not reformed, changed, and transformed, we do not see things as they are. We see things as we are. Or as they say in 12-step programs, if you spot it, you got it. That is, the man secretly obsessed with sex sees the cheater in every friendly man interacting with women. The person who sees the criminal in others has a strong inner motivation to do the same. The person who twists the truth sees the liar in everybody else. And the person with a secret problem with alcohol sees the alcoholic in anyone who takes a drink. See, here's the deal. As a faith community, we do not have policies with consequences for behavior because we supposedly are following an even higher standard taught by Jesus Christ. But in my conversation with corporate employees, it struck me that church behavior is actually often worse because not only do we not have policies, but we do not follow the teachings of Jesus laid out in the New Testament. Usually we're more worried about upsetting the people who are acting badly. The 4 Gospels were written by 4 faith communities because they wanted Christians to live differently than the rest of the world. So I ask you, how difficult is it to understand, do not judge and you will not be judged? Do not condemn and you will not be condemned. Forgive and you will be forgiven. How hard is it to understand judgment without mercy will be shown to anyone who has not been merciful? Mercy triumphs judgment. These teachings would not be in Scripture unless we all wanted to judge and condemn. The Scriptures don't say anything about not eating broccoli. Right? How hard is it to understand, can the blind lead the blind? Will they both not fall into a pit? The student is not above the teacher, but everyone who is fully trained will be like that teacher. This one's a little more difficult. It means, how is it that people who do not study the Scriptures think they are entitled to act like they know the truth? No. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, no matter how ill-informed. Experts are nothing but elite know-it-alls. Authorities are cheats and liars, and anyone is fair game. I know a little about a few things. Scripture, Luther, psychology, music, and there are tons of people who know more about that than anything that I know. I know nothing about any of the trades, but I respect anyone who knows how to work with their hands. It looks like magic to me. I'm a financial advisor, so I don't bankrupt myself. I call another pastor or the assistant to the bishop if I'm faced with something I'm not sure about. And I trust them because they know more than I do. The hell with my opinion. Mm-hmm. Now, it may be hard to understand this teaching. Why do you look at the speck in your brother's eye and not see the log in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when you yourself fail to see the log in your own eye? You hypocrite! First take the log out of your own eye, and then you'll see clearly to see the speck in your brother's eye. You see, 2,000 years ago, Jesus was a psychotherapist. 2,000 years ago, he was describing what in the last 100 years we've just been able to name as projection. When we have a shameful something in our soul that we keep hidden and cannot own, lust, envy, a tendency to cheat, a power complex, an addiction, a hidden problem with anger, this is the log in our own eye that we don't want to see. And then we find someone who has a speck, not a log, a speck, a little bit, and we project our log, what we hate in ourselves, onto that person. Mm-hmm. If you want to know about your own hidden log, look at your enemies. Look at the people you hate. If you spot it, you got it. The scriptures and Jesus tell us to stop projecting our own crap onto other people. We are falsely damaging someone else out of our own spiritual immaturity. Jesus tells us to go and figure out what we now call our shadow self, the things we can't stand in ourselves, our logs, and stop judging, condemning, and hurting other people. If we are not reformed, changed, and transformed, we do not see things as they are. We see things as we are. We see the world with the log in our eye that distorts and destroys other people. Hurt people hurt people. But there is this higher standard that we all at least give lip service to, that is why we're here. But it's hard. Our first instinct is to judge. Our first instinct is to condemn. Our first instinct is to not have mercy. This is why we ask God to transform us. We are meant to be a spiritual laboratory, an experiment. And instead, and I hate to say it, we can act worse than employees in business, education, and healthcare. And I want to ask you, can we collectively draw a line today and say we will work as hard as we can to live by the teachings of Jesus and the New Testament here at CLC? Or are we going to be just another congregation that pays lip service and then acts out in mean, accusatory, and slanderous ways? This is what Jesus and the early faith communities came up with. Judgment without mercy will be shown to anyone who has not been merciful. Mercy triumphs judgment. Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Why do you see the speck in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the log in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when you yourself fail to see the log in your own eye? Let's first take the logs out of our eyes, and then we will see clearly to remove the speck in our brothers and sisters' eyes. The change in us is to begin here. And if we begin to master these teachings here, then we can go out into the world and offer it to other people. Otherwise, we come in the door, we walk out the door, and nothing has changed. And then I'm left wondering, why are we here? Mm-hmm. Amen.
Amen.
My sense is that if we learn to live by these teachings, Jesus tells us to do so, that we end up with a wonderful world. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world.